comments. If you have a comment and stuff, like, all this stuff. Let's talk about Candyman. Actually, I want you to interview me about Candyman because you've seen the original, so we can talk about that. Yep. But I want to talk a little bit about the remake, and I also want to recommend that anybody that is wanting to learn about this, wanting to check out reviews, don't necessarily rely on the first person or the person that you're like, oh, I really respect and trust this person's opinion. Vis-a-vis me. I know that's a weird recommendation, but I do think with movies like this, when there's social commentary attached to it being a horror film, there's just a scope that whether you're white, whether you're Asian watching a black film or vice versa, in any circumstance, if you're not really in that situation, like for instance in The Heights, the recent stuff with that,
yep.
You don't really have the scope of understanding exactly what it means.
Right.
And so we're going to link for a few people. I linked it also. I found a way to get it in the Good Things Utah article for a few people too, to make sure that people could check those out too. So make sure that you check out other people's reviews on this and watch them, because I'm probably going to say stuff that won't make sense and might even be like, oh, he's really not understanding that at all. But let's dig into this. So Candyman, it's from the 1992. It's kind of a spiritual sequel, reboot kind of. And we're with this painter who is Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who is amazing.
He's a great actor.
Oh, he's so good.
You can't go wrong with him.
And this has been out for a while in kind of in a can, ready to come out to the world. But COVID came out first. And so nobody has been able to really see a lot. But this was when he was just starting a little bit more, or I guess he wasn't getting where he is right now. So you're getting fresh Yahya. I don't know what that means.
Would this be before Watchmen?
It seems like it was maybe around the same time. Maybe he was filming it around the same time. But he's a painter. He learns about the story of you know what? I'm an asshole. I'm gonna look up real quick what the name of the Candyman place. What the place was. The apartment.
The candy place.
Yeah, Cabrini Green, which is a real place in Chicago. And you find out the history of the historical Candyman, maybe some other histories of different variations of Candyman, perhaps, and kind of go into the lore. They really bring up Candyman to be more like Freddy Krueger in this than ever before. There's some vibes of The Fly that I really love. Have you seen Jeff Goldblum's The Fly? I love all of the practical effects of grody things and stuff.
Is it pretty body horror at points then?
There's some body horror that's pretty terrifying.
Very Cronenberg-esque.
Have you heard of tripod phobia?
I have not. What's that?
It's not tripod phobia. What is it?
It's where you're afraid of tripods.
I think it's triphobia. Trypophobia.
Well, what is it?
Of these.
The close and closed
stuff,
holes,
which is familiar to Beehive.
Yeah.
So they very clever in the way that they were able to do this. I'm going to bring up all of the people real quick. So ask me a question.
So it's funny you bring that up, because I was actually on TikTok the other night, and somebody was like, if you have a fear of this, don't watch. And it was actually a close up of hair follicles coming out of a hole. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting you bring that up.
Directed by Nia DaCosta, which say her name. First say Candyman, then say Nia DaCosta, because that's the other big thing on Twitter is nobody's bringing up Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta.
And she's also
say her name.
Nia DaCosta.
Look at the cameras and say her name 5 times.
Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta. Nia DaCosta.
How cool would it be if she just showed up? Or she called and she's like, we're doing an interview. We planned that whole thing. That would have been amazing, right? But we didn't. We're white. Let's move into the next. It was also it was co-written and also co-produced by Jordan Peele. But it is written all over here, Nia DaCosta. Her style, her story, her everything with this, honestly. And I definitely felt the difference between the two that I don't think people are really pointing out with this. Everybody's just trying to go with Jordan Peele produced it. Whenever Michael Bay produces something and it's a lower level director, it's always from Michael Bay and nothing else.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do that with this. And I don't like that either. Tiana Paris, that's what I wanted to talk about. We've seen her in WandaVision. She's the new Captain Marvel person.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. She's in this and she's really good. Yeah, all of the acting and the performances are very well done. The ending's a bit rushed, and I don't know if I'm really satisfied with how it ended, but I don't know. Did you like the original Candyman?
I did. I watched it as part of my 31 nights of Halloween, where you just watch movies
Yeah.
during October. I thought it held up. It still holds up. I thought a lot of the ideas was interesting, and
The bee mouth scene.
The bee mouth scene is iconic for that reason. But a lot of people are trying to say Candyman's a cult classic when it actually did very well when it was released.
It's a cult. I would say not a cult classic.
It's a classic.
Black classic. That's the best way, because I've been talking to people that are anyone around me, and nobody knows about this film. Everybody that I've been so you watch the original Candyman. What is Candyman? And I say hook with bees. Like I try to give them something, right?
Right.
And it takes a minute. So Jordan Peele even went on to say that like when he was doing Get Out, right? Candyman was one of his favorite things, but he made a point to say it was very rare. Like there wasn't any other films like this that were specifically for Black people.
Oh, right. No, I agree. And
so that's why I say like not a cult classic, but maybe a culture classic.
Right. But I'm saying like a lot of social media is saying it's a cult classic. It was received well at the time. It made a decent box office. Like it wasn't a miss necessarily. So well, I didn't know that though, that not a lot of people knew about it. That's interesting.
I could be talking at my ass.
Well, no, I wonder if it's like one of like Pinhead from Hellraiser. Not a lot of people know that too, but like
if you're cover art,
right? But if you see the cover art, or if you see like the bee scene, like you all of a sudden like know what it is, right? So I wonder if it's more like one of the lower horror figures. But it's interesting that you bring up the Freddy Krueger comparison though, like because Freddy Krueger is terrifying, and they have similar supernatural capabilities.
And there's a level of unstoppability that Candyman has that's really like shown in this. Like with Bloody Mary, if you say Bloody Mary 3 times in a mirror, which by the way, here's some things that I want to talk about marketing, branding wise. Like, will you be the Candyman for a quick second?
Okay.
And I'm your brand expert.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Candyman, I'm really glad that you came in the office today. Would you like water or anything? You okay?
No.
Okay, let's move on. So what I was thinking, the bees are awesome. We love the bees. The hook, iconic. So good, right? What do you... Can we cut down the Candymans? 5 is a lot.
No.
Candyman. It's a lot of Candymans. Maybe 3. You can do 3, And by the way, what are these rules you have as far as killing? Like, if somebody's in the room, but they weren't facing the mirror or a part of the group doing it, are they a part of the Candyman thing? Is he only going after certain people? What's the deal?
Are these questions that were raised during your experience?
These are the questions that I had with it.
Okay.
Why didn't you stick to character? Jeez.
I don't know where you're going with it.
Just hook at. I don't know.
Maybe.
No. Yeah, there was just some questions I had about basically his rules, and it seems like I said, they've moved his character into more of a mythological, like a heightened version of like Freddy Krueger and all of those people, where before he was a little bit more just like a ghost,
right?
Like a ghost that could get you, but he was much more of a ghost. This is more like a entity, like a crazy thing.
Because the first one is more like an urban legend, right?
Or a curse. That's what it feels like. It feels like a curse.
It feels like a curse. So, in terms of like horror, does this one get pretty bloody and like graphic, or
there are a few good like bloody kills and things like that? But again, I would say the original Candyman has a couple where you really feel like his claw going and right from, like, one person got clawed from their stomach underneath and through their spine. That's horrifying, and they didn't do that in the new one. Because in the new one, it was more, wow, they shot this very well, rather than that's grotesquely horrifying, and I don't like it. Towards the end you get some of that, but not a ton.
There's a satisfying scene in the trailer where he's picking at a scab, and I want to know, does it actually go further where like it starts peeling skin off?
Well, you could see
it's
that he's starting to get it in the trailer on his cheek too,
right.
So it is spreading that thing. And that's where the trypophobia comes into play. It's really cool. That's where the fly reference, and you don't really have that in the original. He's very much like he's pretty normal looking for all intents and purposes. Like he is a ghost, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think there was a lot of cool tie-ins for the original, and I did watch the original this week too.
So was it after your viewing then?
After my viewing, because there were some things that I had questions about. I wanted to make sure that it were things that tied into the story and weren't necessarily we're doing this because them's the times.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it throughout these films, there's always been themes of gentrification, always been themes of, I guess, Black loss or just grief, and that's what Candyman is. He's like that personification of Black grief throughout time, of things that have happened to people and happen mainly by white people with stuff that you see brought in through this ghost story to like scare little kids and stuff. I think that's fascinating, and it's a uniquely I don't know if this is a very good thing, but it's a uniquely American movie too. Like you don't really like, because
that can be
slavery is pretty inherently American.
Yikes.
So the fact that like this is like it's like us almost too, you know,
right.
like US, and he was trying to make that equation too. I wonder if that does have something to it. But I had a good time with watching these scares, but I just don't think that I know enough about those certain aspects to be able to like say anything definitively. So that's why I would recommend go check out all of the reviews that you can, and positive, negatives from all sources that you possibly can. Get a good opinion on this.
Well, I've noticed a lot of Twitter peeps are retweeting both good and bad.
Mm-hmm. And because it is, I could see both sides.
Right. And that's all they're saying. And a lot of them are actually refusing to even write a review on it because they don't feel like they can properly discuss it.
That I don't know. I've always taken issue with, if you see a movie, you do a review. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like especially if you were, told by someone to go, or you were invited to go to it. If you're invited to go to these screeners, you definitely should be putting out your own reviews and or at least reactions, something to that. And the review could be just you echoing that statement, but you got to put out something.
Right. And just one more question, probably. Do you see this starting a new franchise like Candyman 2?
Well, they've built him up right now to be the new one.
Okay.
Like we have a Candyman that we could potentially move forward. But I don't really know what constitutes a greenlit sequel in COVID times,
Yeah.
Because everything is underperforming except for Free Guy for some reason. Ryan Reynolds, just as always, is killing it lately. But everything else, I don't know. If this gets a sequel, Dune will get a sequel. How about that?
I love Dune.
I think that's a fair bet to say. If this gets a sequel, then I would say that Dune would probably get a sequel.
I'm excited to watch it though. I was gonna do a double screener yesterday, but I just didn't.
Well, you ended up seeing something else, which is where we're going to move into our next review.